What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. On this video, we are going to cover OCG Metagame Tier List post ROTA or Rage of the Abyss that was recently introduced to us in OCG last Saturday. So we had a new format and new metagame ahead of us. So this is the early preview of that metagame, bunch of changes and metagame shifts and trends, no, that we're going to cover here. So we do have SAB, C, and D tiers here, and we're going to cover each deck and explain why they are here in our tier list. So without further ado, let's start. So moving on D tier, we do have Fluandries on the first deck. So this is very controversial for me because in my first hindsight, I thought that I would just say that in the video that Fluandries is only an honorable mention deck. But looking more carefully on my browsing and metagame searches, I have found that Fluandris is kinda successful and won some huge tournaments with like 6 or 7 rounds of Swiss. So yeah, I do believe that Fluandris is a deck that is a good meta call. Only that they have shifter, of course. They could shut down the graveyard, and also the SAB tiers decks here are kinda link oriented, so they would struggle really bad against Empen. So once you're a deck that definitely succumbs to Empen, I think Luandris still has a shot on the metagame. So yeah, on the bottom of our D will be Fluandris. Next would be Ancient Gear. So Ancient Gear is very hot right now in OCG. I cannot stress enough how impactful the new support of Ancient Gear is, and more importantly, the Fuaros and the Impulse. So those two elevated the going second prowess of Ancient Gear, and Fuaros definitely became their second copy of Maxi, like Tenpai as well. And I think that card really boosted the power of going second decks. So Ancient Gear is a really solid option here right now. And if you don't want to play Tenpai Dragon, the more usual choice, no, you could definitely sit back towards the Ancient Gear, and you will also get the same amount of pressure going second and probably demolish boards using the overwhelming capacity of Ancient Gear to break boards and deal massive amount of damages. And next would be Metabit. So Metabit, very ordinary deck in OCG. I think this deck will still be relevant in our metagame right now, which is infested by multiple engines, Sinful Spalls, Azamina, and Finsmith, Jubel, Snake Eyes, Fire King. All of those ridiculous engines are present. And you have the opposite of that, the most basic, most simplistic way of playing the game with the meta beat. You just normal summon Pachi, normal border, set your fissure, and flip your macrocosmos and such. No, so very simple yet effective once you know your meta game and environment, and you could definitely pick up Metabit and make a living hell out of these meta decks in our SAB tiers here. And also, next we do have Ritual Beast. So another shifter deck, but on this note, it is very combo-ish, very explosive. We have seen the WCQ NA from TCG, that we have seen the prowess of Ritual Beast, and also on the WCQ Asia Finals with Rod Alan, the PH rep from our country, finishing an 8th place outing on the tournament. So it is cemented that Ritual Beast is a deck to reckon with. And not only the play shifter, you could also play the Protoss engine with an MSS package, and also play various floodgates and tech cards like Fissure, Engraving. So those are really niche cards, but definitely will make the meta decks crumple around those cards. So yeah, I think Ritual Beast is definitely a tier D deck here right now. Next would be Thunder Dragon Finsmith. So yeah, similar to other decks here on the D tier, they are relying solely on sitting on a floodgate, and Colossus is a prime example of that. Once you establish Colossus, there's not many decks that could play around Colossus. Chimera, Unchained, Voiceless, Tenpai, Yubel, Snake Eyes, they would all struggle around Colossus. The problem are kinda dwells down towards the Thunder Dragon, but you have Vinsmith Engine to improve the resiliency and overall ceiling of that deck. So yeah, I do believe that this is a very competent deck, and on the hands of right pilot, once you know how to navigate the going second tendencies of Thunder Dragon, and also play carefully on your going first plays. I think it is a very suited deck into this meta game. Next would be Live Twin Sprite, Finsmith. So this is very surprising to me. I am not really expecting the Live Twin to do this much, but they are really winning some huge tournaments like the Japan Area Championship tournaments where Live Twin got finalists on different areas. So I think the Live Twin is definitely a more watered down version of Unchained Finsmith, and probably it would rely on the sprite to make it more explosive and also more resilient. And I think sprite definitely offers various ways of intangibles towards the deck. Your going second would be more elevated towards the sprite. You have the Sky Palace package going into Zeus, and also the sprite gigantic sprite to extend your plays and play minimally under maxi. So it's really good. And next would be on the C tier. First would be Branded. So Branded, another deck that is timeless. 2021 Branded. We all knew how the story tailed after the support of Dawn of Majesty and support from the Branded structured deck, and it definitely shaped the Branded as an competitive archetype and a really strong meta deck on that regard. So Branded with plethora of supports, they are really tipped to succeed. And even though they have lost a lot of cards towards the ban list already, I think Branded still has so much gas, and they could definitely break boards and establish really decent amount of interruptions going first. So yeah, Branded, the trend with Branded are they are playing board breakers and going second cards into the main deck like Droplet, Eclipse, and things like Dark Ruler No More, Trust, and Talent. So to make the Branded more well-rounded and more competent going second. Next would be Supreme King, Magician. So this deck have been under in microscopic changes. They are ditching the Melodious engine towards this deck. I wonder why, but I believe it is to make them play better under Droll and Nibiru, probably. So yeah, I think they are trying to limit their engine towards the Pendulum stuff only with the Magician Z Arc and Supreme King only. But I don't really see what's the big change for this Supreme King Melodious Supreme King Magician, but I think Melodious is still the better option to play as an engine on this deck. But yeah, I think they are trying to differentiate things and make a lot of changes for this already built and solidified pendulum deck. Next would be Gimmick Puppet. So this is also surprising to me. I think Gimmick Puppet have lost their traction before they lost the two copies of their XYZ FTK enabler, but now they are kinda crawling back their way towards the C tier, because before I don't even consider them as a D tier type of meta deck, but now there's a lot of showings and results of Gimmick Puppet, and I believe it is contributed towards their FTK shenanigans. Once you let your Gimmick Puppet do their combo, you don't have Droll, you don't have Nibiru, you don't hit their choke points, they are probably going to FTKU, and it's really deteriorating and detrimental. I think game 1 of Gaming Puppet is one of the best game ones of a meta deck right now. And next would be Infernoid. So similar to Branded, too much gas, too much firepower, too much resiliency. Once this deck gets snowballing out of control, there's no decks that could stop them. Even the likes of Snake Eyes, Rescue Ace, Yubel, they would all struggle on how grindy, gritty, and really resilient this Infernoid can be. And also plays a lot of going first cards like Reasoning, Grass. Those are very snowbally. Once those cards resolve, it's not really going to be a good news for you. You will definitely struggle on navigating their card effects. They would pop simultaneous effects and do ridiculous combos and lines of play. So yeah, I think it's really hard to stop the Infernoid once they go first and establish well-rounded gameplay. And next would be Memento Clan. So this deck was supported, but to my surprise, I have only seen a couple of tops of Memento Clan recently, and some tops didn't even include the new support. But yeah, I believe I don't really grasp the whole picture of this deck because I don't use it. So I will let it towards the experts of this Mementotlan. But for me, I think this deck is really inconsistent in terms of topping tournaments. Even though on paper this deck looks very promising, very solid, very explosive, but on some weeks they look very powerful. On some days they really feel so lackluster. So yeah, I think it's really inconsistent. I don't really like the inconsistency of Mementotlan due to those factors because I believe if you want to play a deck on large scale tournaments and high stake events, you would definitely opt for consistency over the likes of ceiling and explosiveness. And next, moving towards our B tier, we have Labyrinth. So a major change for Labyrinth, they have ditched the Finsmith engine to play more plethora of trap cards. The trap trick, the new mathematic equation trap card, which I don't even know how to solve properly, and also a bunch of floodgates, powering stone, skill drain, other stuff like goes in match. All of those are really relevant towards this labyrinth. So they have ditched the explosiveness and resiliency of Finsmith and their combo plays in replacement of those controlling cards to improve their going first, of course, with those floodgates, with those trap cards. Their going first is more valuable than ever. And also, I think it's been the way to go for Labyrinth right now. They are trying to just slow the game and make the other decks play their tempo. So they would out-resource them, outgrind them, and ultimately outwit them with the furniture cards and also the recursion of trap cards for this Labyrinth. Next would be Unchained Finsmith. So a very very solid deck right now. It is just the right amount of Finsmith that you could play in this current metagame. Being in the middle of the pack, you are really far from the ban list, except for the Finsmith, of course. But yeah, people are not really targeting your back. They are not really prepared against you too much, and they are not going to prepare their side deck towards you. They would rather invest their cards against Tenpai, Snake Eyes, Yubel, Parking, and such like Voices Voice. But being in the middle of the pack on this B tier, like Unchained Finsmith, definitely still has rooms for surprises and improvements for this deck. Being able to combo off with Fin monsters from Unchained and Finsmith, going their routes towards their really strong board with Caesar, with the Blue Dog of Unchained, and probably Little Knight or IP Mascarena. It is really strong right now. And also, your going second prowess is not that shabby as well. I think you could comfortably break boards on this Unchained, and they have a lot of kits to do that using the link climbing shenanigans of Unchained and lot of interruptions like Destroy, Pop, and the Banish from Little Knight. Those are really handful when going second. And next would be Chimera Finsmith. So this deck is probably the best deck that you could pick up when you're trying to avoid the ban list this coming probably second or third week of September. So Chimera, really solid deck. Bunch of supports already from the Edge Imp, from the Illusionist cards, and now with Finsmith, I think this looks very promising and solid right now. And if you're trying to grind out opponents and yeah, play the hard way of out resourcing, out managing the opponents, and also outwitting them, I think Chimera is a really solid option with the pops from the Guardian Chimera, with the -1 from the hand cards of this Chimera card fusion. I think you have a lot of ways to interrupt the opponent and lessen their card advantages over you. And yeah, I think very solid deck right now. Just the correct spot for this Chimera into this B tier. Next would be Runic Stun. So Runic Stun will be timeless. It is inevitable. It is endless. It is infinite. I don't really see the metagame in OCG where Runic doesn't play a part on the metagame. Even though you hit all of the possible floodgates, all of those ridiculous stuff, they will all try to find ways to make the Runic competent. Like in Master Duel, people have already crossed out the idea of Runic being a top deck, but look what happened on big events like the Challenger Cup and also the previous events in WCQ qualifying tournaments in Master Duel. Runic still has a spot on the top best decks and still be able to perform because they will adapt their floodgate lineup, their trap lineup, and also their boss monsters like Border and the Light Barrier State U to stun the opponent and stall the game, win on time, and also deck out the opponent, of course. So yeah, it is also worth noting that you only get one draw from Runic, and there's not many decks that could do that aside from Fluandries, of course, because they normal summon, no? So Runic is really a very safe deck. Yeah, it's probably the safest deck that you could pick up if you don't know what to play, if you want to just really counter these decks and be the most peskiest and most annoying player on your locals. Just play Runic and win games. Just overlook the ridiculous amount of hate that people are pointing towards the Runic and just win games. It's probably that way because it's one of the most effective ways to win in the card game in general. Of course, playing a stall deck, a stun deck like Runic definitely has its own merits. And next would be Voices Voice, another safe deck on the block. There's not many decks that could set up 2 interruptions with 1 Omni Negate, 1 Special Summon Negate, and pops from the Radiance, or yeah, I think you only get 2 draws from the Law and Skull Guardian, and that's pretty much about it from Maxi. So if you're able to play around Maxi very effectively and still be able to set up a very considerable and yeah desirable board, apart from that, I think you have a very solid chance of performing really well in this Maxi oriented format now with Fowaros, no? So the draw power is insane in this current metagame. So you just want to avoid your opponent drawing off too much hand size advantages over you. So a Voices Voice is a very solid option to mitigate those chances, and also play a very linear, very conservative deck like Voices Voice. Be able to do your 1.5 card combos and able to set up your usual end board like Law, Skull Guardian with Soravis. And yeah, that's pretty much about it on the Voices Voice. Next, moving towards the A tier, people have already told me that the decks on A and S are literally the same. It just varies on their engine. So first we do have Snake Eyes Finsmith. So the lesser version that doesn't play as a Mina. So yeah, even though you are not playing as a Mina, Snake Eyes Finsmith is one of the top decks in this current meta game. You are playing about 15-18 hand traps into this deck with one card combos like 6 or 7, probably 9 one card combos on this deck, and it's really ridiculous. You're going to have rooms for half of your deck for non engines and still be able to decently make a very powerful board. On top of that, with the Flamberge being existent on the metagame, I think there's not really defining hits towards the Snake Eyes that could stop the deck or kill the deck in this meta. So yeah, with Flamberge legal, I think Snake Eyes is probably one of the still top betting decks into this meta game. And next would be Rescue Ace Finsmith. So before they used to be second best deck, but they didn't really won on the new set from ROTA. Even though they have gotten 1 copy or probably 2 at most copies of Lacrimosa on their deck, it didn't really help the Rescue Ace because their problem are breaking from the trap cards and the field spell, and also their high level monsters that are garnets when you don't draw the hydrant and airlifter and emergency. So they have kept their same issues from those bricks, and I think that really holds them down towards their stature on being one of the best decks, because even though they label the Rescue Ace as second, and it definitely performed really well on the WCQ Asia Finals and Japan Championship, but it's not enough. It's really not enough on regular basis of tournaments, on daily tournaments, locals, pods, ranking tournaments, 32-man locals, 8-man locals. I think it's not really consistent enough to be able to label them as the best deck on this current metagame due to those problems. But yeah, I think they have gotten a little bit better, but other decks just won more towards the Azamina package in general. Next would be Fire King, Finsmith, Azamina, Sinful Spoils. Oh my god, I have lost breath from stating those four engines, and you still have Snake Eyes on that really ridiculous 4 engines in a single deck. What Yu-Gi-Oh has become today. I am really flabbergasted on why Yu-Gi-Oh turned out this way, but yeah, it's definitely the way of the game to evolve and really change things from the monotonous way of playing the game with one core or probably one supporting engine to boost the deck. But now they are trying to differentiate things and mix and match engines together that meshes well together and possibly form the best deck that you could do in this format. So Fire King also suffers from the same issues as Rescue Ace. Sometimes your Fire King cards can hold you back, and those bricks are also not really good on long tournaments, prolonged tournaments, and high stake events. You will definitely suffer from it from one way or another. So yeah, it lags behind towards their counterpart of Snake Eyes as Amina Finsmith because of those bricks. But on that contrary, I think you have a lot of toolbox or kits to make your deck more resilient from the pops of Fire King and the recursion from the Phonics. So really immense value for this deck. And next would be Yubel Finsmith. I don't really rate Yubel Finsmith that much right now. The only reason why I have retained them on the top of A tier is because they are the best deck pre-Rota. And you couldn't really erase that in a single day. This tier list was only catered from Saturday and Sunday, just 2 days of Rota format. And they have fallen off from their throne in the best deck category. Now they are going to gauge towards the A tier and probably fall down towards the bottom of A tier moving forward if Snake Eyes, Finsmith, and also Fire King and Rescue Ace Finsmith benefits more from Rota and possibly Azamina, no? So yeah, it will eventually go that way because Azamina is a really ridiculous new adventure engine towards this deck with already 3 adventures with Finsmith and Sinful Spoils. So yeah, it's really ridiculous. And Yubel also definitely is not a perfect deck, even though it is very complete in a sense that you have a lot of ways of interruption, and possibly a very powerful consistency. You still have same issues, like if you don't establish Omni Negate, like the Fire King Azamina does or Snake Eyes Azamina does. So you will definitely struggle from Change of Heart, Raigeki sometimes, and other stuff that could blow your board. So it's more fragile in a sense, and also lesser explosive compared to the Azamina decks right now. And next, going towards our S tier finally, we have Snake Eyes Azamina Finsmith. So possibly this is the most explosive and more consistent deck all over this metagame. I believe they are the huge winners of the new set, and Rota definitely busted the Azamina towards this deck, boosting the Sinful Spoils lore, Snake Eyes lore. They definitely benefited from Azamina. And as a deck, it is very competent in a sense that you play 15 hand traps slots into the deck, and you still have 3 engines on that with multitudes of one card combos and be able to be the modern version of mid-range decks that Tri Brigade and the likes of Sword Soul haven't done in the past. You have a lot of recursion, recovery, one card combos, omni negates, interruptions, pop effects, banishes. All of those stuff are relevant towards the Snake Eyes. They are probably the most complete mid-range deck into this current metagame. And that's pretty much about it. I think it definitely explains a lot because those lot of things are really relevant towards this single deck. And next, our tip best deck on post Rota format would be none other than Tenpai Dragon. The sole reason why Tenpai Dragon is tipped as the best deck is their affordability and accessibility towards the metagame. The Finsmith engine is expensive, Sinful Spoil, Snake Eyes, Fire King, and even Azamina could get expensive as well. So most people that are budget players and not that really going to invest too much money on stuff like Yubel or Finsmith, they would definitely go with Snake 10 Pie Dragon. But it's not the only reason. Not only the accessibility and affordability, they have gotten the Fuaros and the Impulse. Those two are instant impact towards the main deck of Tenpai Dragon. Those topping lists of Tenpai Dragon are really all over the place. They are the most represented deck, and people are going to play Tenpai Dragon all the time because it is consistent, very niche way of playing the game, going second, breaking boards, and trapping the opponent from the choke points, and ridiculous draw power from Maxi and Fuaros paired with the Impulse that acted as the second copy of Ash Blossom for them. So it's really immense right now. I cannot stress enough how powerful Tenpai Dragon is right now. I am a Tenpai player myself, and I believe it is really, really ridiculously strong right now. And I don't really put in a fashion that they are stronger with ceiling and firepower with the Snake Eyes and Azamina Finsmith decks. I think it's the other way around. They are the complete opposite of that. They are trying to counter all of those stuff going on, happening around these multitudes of engines right now. So they are just going to rely on hand traps, board breakers, and possibly going first tech cards to be able to outwit and outlast the metagame right now. So yeah, that sums up our OCG metagame tier list post ROTA or Rage of the Abyss by Kaishiro. So if you found this video informative and helpful and enjoying, please consider subscribing into my YouTube channel and wait for the new video of this tier list with deck list samples from all of these decks into post ROTA format. So thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.